Here we go. MVP this time on the blue side. May see a change in bans. No Swain ban just yet, Papa.
Oh, the blind pick Swain would be perhaps the biggest story ever if MVP pulled that one off. They're on the blue side, so no counter pick or last pick on the red side available. So far, it's going to be the Galio ban from KSV, spanning away the overpowered. Do we get the targeted ban onto the Swain? If he's happy to run it into tanks, maybe you need to consider it, but MVP going to leave it open. ADD. I would go for the hover of Swain here just to start the psychological warfare early, but he doesn't seem to be a hover man.
I think you should.
There's some good manners from ADD.
It's just so, yeah, it definitely is good manners, but it's just free BM that you know would hurt KSV. Either way, not going to happen. They pick up the Caitlyn again. Definitely a pivotal pick here for MVP in game one.
And Zyra Khan is overlooked. They're not interested. They beat it once already. KSV, even though it's Ruler and Core JJ, who literally duoed their way only to top 5 challenger, have not impressed on the Zyra and Rakan, so I don't mind them leaving it open. We'll see the Camille most likely for Haru, but it is a flex pick for QV as well. I like them locking in very early in the draft because they have last pick as well, so if you're blind picking the Swain into the Camille, potentially you're going to have probably a pretty bad time. Even if it is a melee laner. Ezreal going to be locked in, so it's going to be a lot more safety here for the side of Ruler, who has not been big on the Ezreal this season, only 4 games compared to Prey and Bang, who have had a lot of fun on it. And I think MVP will largely roll out a lot of what they did in the previous game. We might see a mid laner picked by Crown into double ban on the red side. We'll see if MVP want to circumvent that and go for something like an Azir, which is available.
Oh. He's hovering it. At least Ian is hovering it. If there's going to be one guy in MVP that's going to give you a little bit of the BM, he switches it to the Sion eventually. So another one of ADD's big picks.
Hey, look, if game one got him his Sion, he's actually just like cheering. He is raising his arms in victory a little bit early, but that does mean that the Azir will be left open to KSV. All right, I'm going to call it now. And what I desperately want to see is Syndra from Ian. We have ADD on Sion. Ian was known for almost uniquely his Syndra. I think it's a decent pick. Of course, can be gap closer. Hexet Ultimatum is not kind to it. But let's roll back what was good before for MVP and see those stalwart solo laners, Sion and the Syndra. Gonna be a double ban towards mid lane. So far, no Taliyah ban, although Ian isn't one of our resident Taliyah gods.
You never know, maybe he's been practicing it recently, but certainly they're going to go with the stuff they know, and already taking away Zoe and Corki. Nice bans coming through against Ian.
Yeah, when you look at his most played, they've all been accounted for at the moment. Azir, Corki, Zoe, Rise, all accounted for in one way or the other. So waiting for final ban here on blue side will be the Trundle. So definitely telegraphing Sion. It is Max who has a quadra kill on Sion support. So what does it mean, Valdez, is always what we say when it comes to MVP. I like that they're bringing this back because they were the mad scientists of the LCK very early. QV going to show that it is going to be Camille top lane, as Haru is going to have his chance at the Sejuani. So weird to have Haru come in and just, it's almost like Ambition's still there. The champion pool doesn't change.
Well, certainly some mistakes were made by Ambition. Maybe Ruler can bring them in. There's the hover on the Taliyah you were talking about.
It's really strong in the comp they have because they have what Jinair won with against Afrika. You remember that Taliyah Skarner to look for the turrets, and they have Caitlyn to set up there as well. So very strong turret-taking comp with the Taliyah if it's drafted, even though it's not Ian's comfort.
It's almost too perfect to give up.
Do we see a support pick here, or is it going to be that Sion support? It's a blind pick. KSV have actually left counter pick for Core JJ. Will cement, it seems like, the Sion for top lane. The Swain here would just send the crowd over the edge. They're not ready for it. Would have to censor the cheers. The cheers will not come. It will be the Tom Kench from Max. So we got very strong siege coming through from MVP. Caitlyn rolls up. The Weaver's Wall goes behind a turret, and Skarner threatens the all-in. Very clear comp from the side of MVP. Core JJ takes 0 seconds to lock in the Braum. An old favorite of his has been on Taric duty for the majority of the season. Core JJ 10 games of Taric, 5-3, so still positive win rate on the Braum, but nothing is looking that clean for KSV anymore. And look at the KSV comp. Very strong team fighting. Juve on the Camille for the first time in a while. Sion's the brick wall. It'll take a long time for him to break through. MVP, I like their draft in terms of identity, but KSV definitely have a draft that can turn on as the items start to roll in. They get an advantage through bot lane. If Camille can teleport in, Ezreal with 2 items roams through, there's definitely ways to answer MVP's comp. But if the nameplates are off, I'm a bigger fan of MVP's comp than I am KSV's.
Certainly. I think it's a really nice composition. As you've been saying, the TK definitely will help out against some of the pick that KSV has. Also, in tandem with the Taliyah, you have a lot of global presence around the map. And we've seen what Max can do from the support role. Definitely a guy who loves to be active around the map and make the flashy plays. So looking towards that Tom Kench for him.
Very excited to see where the snowball is attempted by the side of KSV. We're expecting Haru to be more aggressive than Ambition and try to make things happen. You get the Camille going, and she can overwhelm ADD in lane. There's a lot of split push options available for the side of KSV. To me, that is the big place you can try to exploit. Ezreal Braum, unlikely to get too much jungle attention. And when it comes to the mid lane, there is always the outside chance that Crown can do some playmaking, as Azir so far has been one of his best picks. A lot of late game team fighting available for the side of KSV.
So we do have a pause here, guys. We're not going to transition right into the countdown, as seems like we've had a lot of these little pauses. Someone's got a headset issue, mouse issues, yada, yada, yada.
But the chairs and the toilet, both so far.
Yeah.
Not necessary.
Still untouched. That's good.
Is Beyond on the screen, gets to roll back to Skarner. A Skarner won. We have to celebrate that. We haven't seen it very much,
you know,
in recent memory. I feel like Skarner was on a 5 to 6 game losing streak.
Especially against Sejuani's and these big tank junglers. It feels like you just go up to them and you're like, well, I'm going to ult you in, and then my team is behind, so they can't DPS you.
I mean, if you were power ranking the relevance of the champion, Skarner was still number 5 in that game. He didn't really do much.
True.
But he won, and that's all that matters.
Had the one good impale onto the Xayah, and that was about it.
Pentakiller himself, Pilot, is on a 5-game winning streak to go along with the 5 kills to close out game 1.
He's certainly making a case for him to be the new leader of the 80 carry role over Mahaha.
I wonder what it is to be in KSV's shoes. They did not ban the Swain. They leave it open if also picks and bans. Not a surprise until literally this moment where Swain was played in game 1. The power naps continue for Crown. They need to focus. Haru back in the lineup in the past meant that Crown was unlocked. Crown always looked strongest when Haru was around. So we'll see if that can work, because we're hearing something about an audio issue.
Yeah, it looks like ADD's headset once again is going to be the problem. So he's going to try a new fancy white one.
He's got a wrist guard on as well.
Yeah, he does.
He's ready to rumble.
On his mouse hand, he's like, what is this contraption? Never seen this before.
Taking his time, reading over the instructions.
Four refs in the booth to help him out with replacing one headset.
Have you tried turning it off and on, they're saying?
SpoTV definitely doing their best to help everybody out.
Still waiting for one of their players to put up his hands and say, I am the carry, I am the way back into the game. In summer, it was Juve having an unbelievable summer season. In spring, it was Haru and Crown. Someone needs to be the bus driver, because right now this bus going off the road, Valdez.
Let's see if they can bring it back here. KSV desperately needing a win up against MVP going into game number 2. What a series we've had so far. Game number 1, definitely one for the highlight reel. Swain coming in a big way.
We can even wind back. What a first series we had between SKT and Jin Air. So we've been blessed so far. Now 4 games on the Rift. 5th game rolls around, and Ian's actually gone for Unsealed Spellbooks. So being creative, Cleanse will be very nice against the Sejuani as the game goes on. But starting Heal for a potential 2v2. Heal going to be useful against the Hextech Ultimatum compared to the Cleanse, obviously.
Glacial Augment and Ignite for Max. He's not joking around in that lane.
Big chase potential, and has the Caitlyn auto attacks where you kind of always get a 2-for-1 special with her range advantage to allow him to walk up and bully more often than not. Until Spellbook on Core JJ though, so following the Tucson playbook when it comes to the Braum. Pilot does some nice animation canceling. Bot side start, no fake leashes. Camille is zoning around the top side and taking the Spire from the top side. So far, mirrored starts, both junglers starting bot side of the jungle. Usually, not very relevant to talk about level 3 ganks from Skarner and the Sejuani, but we've been surprised before, so who knows?
Especially in a lane like this, where if Cube tries to go forward against the ADD with all of the CC and the glacial augments, there's definitely an opportunity to punish that aggressive play. I
wonder if you max Q against Camille. She does have the hook shot, but you don't max it first in lane. That's only a jungle thing. So if they use an 18-second cooldown in response to your 6-second cooldown, you feel pretty good about that. So I'm interested to see what the skill order is. We finally see a different matchup. We've had Camille once before against the Sion. I believe that was the Kingzone game earlier this week. So second time we're seeing the matchups. Ian just decides to take most of his health bar.
It's walking through the Sand Soldiers. A strategy as old as time, as actually the early gank is going to be Haru coming up here. ADD's in a lot of trouble, getting stunned up by that hook shot. Flashing away. He's going to trade 2 for 1 on the flashes, but First Blood will go over to Haru very early on.
At the same time, Beyond went to the Raptors, so wouldn't have been in a position to chasing down.
He's going in the dive and he gets it. What the hell? That's a 1-for-1 trade, getting double flash too. What a play there by ADD.
Glacial Augment comes in big when the rampaging Sion takes out Camille. Oh, that doesn't feel good if you're the Camille.
This is the most tilting day ever for KSV.
If you're Cuvée, you just ask if we could just have this all be over, please. You've had to deal with a Swain into being assassinated by
Look at him, he's so angry.
Oh.
He's actually scowling. I've never seen him look like that before.
It is impossible to not be tilted if you're Cuvée today.
That's the moment where if I'm playing solo queue and that happens to my top laner, I'm like, listen, dude, you leave the game, that's fine, I get it. You know, I'm not even mad. Go ahead. Just I'm not even gonna report you. It's fine.
Well, he's going Roar of the Slayer to be a jerk as well. Even the Korean casters are laughing on the top side over there.
Even the crowd, it seems just like laugh at KSV day, unfortunately, for them.
Both in ironic and serious ways. I think you have to laugh or cry when you're thinking about KSV this season. What does it mean if they don't make playoffs? It's looking closer and closer. We said it facetiously when they had a run of bad games, but they weren't necessarily losing all those games. But now you're sitting there saying, this could really happen. Rock's Tigers look so much better than KSV in recent memory. The amount of teams you'd rank KSV confidently above is getting bigger and bigger. It's really awkward stuff here for KSV. Game's definitely not over, and yeah, this is the turret dive attempt.
There's no flash, even with the ward. That's the knock-up into the seismic shove, and Cuvée might be saying goodbye, but ADD, they went a little bit too far. They want that last kill. They will get it. Actually give that one over to Ian as the cover comes in from Beyond in the mid lane.
Amusingly, ADD was like, come on, what? KS, what's this? I had it. He's taken out on the back end. That wasn't the cleanest as MVP.
He's going to miss that whole wave. Poor Camille, man. Poor Cuvée.
Some animal-style stuff happening in the top lane. Cuvée wonders what's going on. Usually, the Comet Camille so safe. But this does mean a lot of CS will go the way of Azir. Taliyah had a lead to buffer the CS advantage, donated over to Azir. 16 CS Camille at 5 minutes. I think Cuvée just removes the headset. He's going to have an audio issue of his own creation.
Maybe looking at a toilet issue if things get any worse here.
Oh, you're being too harsh today.
Poor
I like
Cuvée.
it. So spicy about this.
I know. The game gets spicy. The caster's got to turn it up as well. As they might be looking at top lane again because this flash is not up again. And this is Taliyah with level 6. Looks like they're going to decide against it.
Cuvée is getting the direst treatment, but in a new, weird, and wonderful way. Maybe we'll call this the MVP treatment of taking the Swain 8.3 game into being chain ganked.
Level 5 Skarner looking to show up on a level 6 Azir with all the summoners. Not sure about this one, but they did have Tom Kench nearby.
Is that for the counter gank? I'd imagine is okay.
This, you know, they're going to force the flash out of that one. A play that we thought was impossible actually makes it happen here. Nice seismic shove out of Ian.
I feel like they definitely got the maximum out of the fracture. That's just an E thrown out, and that was enough to get the summoner. So what are we to say about mid lane Skarner against level 5 against full summoners? Clearly a thing. Beyond is a very bloodthirsty level 5 Skarner, we're learning.
I know, he's like, well, I'll just ignore all my red buff, my extra stuff. I don't want to hit level 6, let's just go level 5.
ADD maybe calling for another turret dive. This time Haru has read the message and is there for the counter gank. He's level 6. Somehow Beyond has contrived to be a full level behind this game.
Kive this time level 6, so you can definitely dodge some of that CC if they want to dive.
Bot lane has not even been on the screen once this game. I'm all right with that.
Oh boy, Ian. I was getting scared for him, but looks like the Azir was too far away.
Haru back in to his side of the rift. How many minutes are we going to go before bot lane is shown once? This is great.
I mean, they showed it for about 3 seconds.
Oh, did they?
There was like so much action that it just didn't matter. They're like, oh, by the way, this is happening too. But anyway, meanwhile.
I literally missed that. I thought it was 7 minutes 40 of bot lane not existing. There it is. Bot lane.
They heard you.
So exciting.
Yeah.
All right,
well,
why did I ask for this?
I know. Culled here on the side as now Beyond's level 6. Haru says, come at me, bro. I dare you to gank.
Everyone's using their emotes and stuff in the top lane. Well, 16 CS has improved to 38. We might see a below 50 CS game at 10 minutes in professional play.
Oh, man. Certainly, it's fun for everybody but QV and his team at this moment in time.
If you just weren't watching the LCK before Worlds, because Worlds was kind of a different animal. It was a, unsensor meta. It was kind of separate from what we saw in the regular season. Samsung were dominant. Samsung Galaxy could have finished the season in first place. You actually cast with Crumbs, the match that decided first place. Last match of the season, match number 90, was where it was all on the line, and they ended up third, and predictably went down 3-0 in the playoffs, which is their way to roll.
Yeah.
But if you're wondering how Samsung Galaxy found their wins pre-Worlds, spring season, Haru and Crown rolled through for MVPs. Haru 4th and first place. I'll hold the point.
Yeah, ADD in a bit of trouble here. He is a tanky
Watch for that
Sion.
passive,
though.
though.
He's trying to ult away. The drifting from Sion. Can he get away? I think he might be able to.
No.
Oh, we got the Azir coming in. Maybe some magic where he can get executed, though. He's going to use the blasting plant and try to get executed here on the turret. Oh, he's
going for it.
He's getting out of here.
Haru doesn't see it yet. The ult.
Oh! ADD gets out. What a beast.
Well, I think they might be tilted, Valdez.
Oh, KSV, they're going to tilt off the face of the earth at this point. How do you deal with this? Ian even gets the blue buff at the same time. Well.
This game has been so much analysis avoided for laughing. It's been so funny. Crown doesn't have his flash, remember?
Oh, man. Okay. Talia can be really obnoxious in this kind of situation, and even with Skarner nearby. Flash and Pale, always got to predict that, but looks like they're going for bot lane, actually.
He still has his flash also, by the way.
Ruler trying to get out of here. He's going to show. Here comes the Weaver's Wall. Going to get in front of that one. And a flash, and Ruler doesn't even flash away. Beyond too quick, and Core JJ getting hit by the seismic shove. I feel like this tilt is spreading to other lanes, Papa.
You never want to use the T word because it's such a proud team. It's the world champions. Their mindset has always been one of their cornerstones, but everything that could have gone wrong has. How about a bonus kill?
The Abyssal Voice comes in, and a Cloud Drake perhaps is collateral damage, but no, they're going to live that one.
If QV recorded a vlog or a diary entry of what happened in this series, it would be really sad. It would definitely be a teary tale of woe for the top laner, and it would kind of generalize the side of KSV, because, like we say, you never want to use the word tilted lightly, but how can you play your best when everything is conspired, your own play, the enemy's play, the innovation, the scouting report? The coaches in the backline just ripping it up. It's like, I don't know, like Swain wasn't on this piece of paper, so Everything is just totally flummoxed the side of KSV. This game is not over. They are within 1,000 gold. They have very strong late game team fighting, but it would say a lot about KSV. It would actually give me a chance to be very complimentary about them if they could shake off the 11 minutes in game 1 and come back and win the series. Then suddenly we'd have a frame of reference for the lowest point of KSV, which I would say is the loss to MVP in game 1, and the potential rise if they can turn it around.
They certainly have the ability. It's just been the way that everything has happened. You know, if they can keep their cool, as a World Championship team should be able to, they're definitely got an opportunity to do this.
You don't want Ian to get too excited either. Doesn't have cleanse, remember. Hasn't switched over with the unsealed spellbook.
Interesting choice here.
Yon's rolling through, underleveled, predictably.
Crown takes way too much damage in the lane. That first rock that you throw, as the Taliyah always does that obnoxious amount of damage.
Pops his Predator just to get the Spire faster.
Just a style on them.
I'm really impressed with Ian's Taliyah. We've seen less Taliyah today than I would have liked, because I've really enjoyed watching teams really find the maximum with the Taliyah. The Taliyah mechanics from when she came back in, I believe, week 3 of the LCK after Froggen was just racking up the wins in solo queue with the pick and reminded everyone that, hey, this champion's pretty broken, has been really good. It's been much better in the last 2 weeks than it was in the previous 2. And bot lane, it's Caitlyn, Tom Kench. The bot laners died, Ruler didn't flash, and they get the Drake, the chunk out in the mid lane, steal the blue, the Spire, and take the bot lane tower. It's a mouthful, but everything they've been able to get. And then you get mid lane turret too, how lovely.
All that gold given over to Caitlyn, by the way, so, I mean, she's going to be hitting her spikes a lot faster. Didn't get any of the kills, as most of those were given over to Taliyah from the mid lane, so.
And Camille's turret is untouched. Look there, she's done no damage on the turret. ADD can always drift his way topside if he needs to, but doesn't even feel the need to rush, and he's going for a bit of a walk. Maybe he'll just hit a blasting plant, no rush. Gets the vision, so they go back mid lane, and are we just gonna see an ult here? Turbo Righteous Glory, but backs away.
It's so funny to watch him trot forward with that skin. He's like trying to run fast, but he's too heavy because of all that armor.
Can you explain to me what part of any Sion game is not hilarious? The champion is funny, super funny.
Yeah.
But
I mean, it's ADD too, and they gave it to him, right? It's hard to ban at everything. The first round of bans was Galio, GP, Kalista. Can you really blame them for letting Sion get through?
And you know what the most awesome thing is? It's the first time we're seeing ADD in this new Sion meta actually get the Sion. So it's someone who's honed his mechanics forever. Felt like MVP won every game they did when the top laner drafted Sion, the jungler took Rek'Sai, and the mid laner took Syndra. They won basically every game. In spring season, with some variant of a pick comp, the Sion comes back into meta, so no surprise. The guy that literally was the only person playing out of meta is still good on it in meta. I feel like we should just call him Initial D. ADD's not working out his name. Initial D is the drifting anime that suits him here.
See what you're going for. What do you think about that Righteous Glory first item up against the Camille in the lane?
I think it's fine. It's for gap close. It's just give another secondary initiator. So I think it's fine. You're very open on itemization as Sion. Everything you build has some level of validity. They're not rushing for the... usually we see something like the Abyssal Mask just to buff up the teammates and to have the magic resist, but it's Camille, so you have to build a bit of armor. So CDR, health, a useful active, it's fine.
Yeah. Second item build I'll ask you about is the Rush Liandry's Torment after Lost Chapter on the Taliyah. What's going on with that? This is 8.3, should be Merlin Omicron until Liandry's first, but looking to mix it up with those 2 extra kills.
I mean, both those items are heavily changed. You know, the Merlin Omicron now very situational pick, especially on non-mana champions, it feels good, and the Liandry's loses its effectiveness for a lot of the game. Liandry's first is a lot of power, even if less spell rotations, and beyond walks up. So low CDR build, but the first burst is going to be pretty sick.
Must be what it's about. They're going to land some slows here onto Max as it turns into a 3v4. Had Ian making his way up to potentially go into that one.
Haven't checked in on Pilot's items in a while because the bot lane has been completely uninvolved outside of the turret dive, and just Infinity Edge Rush. This was a Maha favorite. Maha was always our guy to go Infinity Edge Rush when everyone else was going BS Sword into Zeal item. Does mean those headshot crits are going to be pretty delightful on his side. Is it time to ultimate ADD, Wonders QV?
He's already taken a nice chunk of damage there. And we have Ian sitting in the wings here nearby, looking to almost bait the engage onto ADD and go from there.
And Haru says, well, I'd like my Grom.
Doing a bit of PvE here. ADD just walking through. Haru's like, no, I would not like to fight you.
Game is definitely calmed down a little bit from the yakety sax moments that we had earlier. MBB just trying to slowly chip away the turret from Ezreal and Braum, who have very little wave clear between the two, unless you count the Ezreal ultimate. Nice little chunk out onto Pilot, though.
Yeah, Ruler trying to make a case for this Ezreal ultimate do work, but Ian's here.
He's in vision now.
Not going to wall or anything like that. Just wants to get some poke down. Beyond thinking about an engage around to Haru, is taking a bit of damage himself. Not going to go for it. Will be forced to be devoured, but interestingly enough, they zone out KSV and they get some nice damage here. And even the seismic shove onto Ruler, but look at that, the Talia just way too out in the front. Is going to be chunked down. But in the end, it will be Pilot goes down, and eventually Ian does trade one back, which is kind of a consolation prize after that engage.
Just a bonus at the end, makes it a 1-for-2. Right fight, very good accuracy on the Glacial Prison from Haru. Finds his man. The Liandry's Rush is the reason they were able to do so much damage on the back end, and that's why Ruler went down. Still topside. This timing was so smart because they hit the Glacial Prison as
the
Devour was unavailable.
Observer needs to get on it, and it looks like that should be the kill into the Devour. They just need to save Beyond from here. And Max,
he wants more.
Tom Kench could go for a second one here. No stun is going to land as Haru just disengaged with his own stun.
Only a one-course meal for the Tom Kench. No second course this time, but was enjoying it nonetheless. I love the re-engage there. The first engage was great from KSV, their best moment of the entire series, because they understood that they just saw the Devourer be used in the Skarner. They hit the target, it was Ian, I believe, at the start there, and things go well at the start of the fight for KSV, but it ends up being a 2-for-2 after the dying breath takes down one, and they get the second kill, so it does even it all out.
Maybe KSV's turn to go in there, the Flash Q misses. To add insult to injury here for KSV and the way things have been going.
Is it possible you could add more insult?
I mean,
I feel like the insult has been channeled quite heavily. If you add it all together, it's probably not very broadcast friendly, the amount of insult thrown the way of our world champions. Hard to show too much respect to them, though, for their recent woes and also just being outplayed and outpicked so far this series.
At least MVP looking like a better team overall compared to the 0-10 that they started this season on. So
Ian refuses to change his summoners, by the way. He's just keeping the heal to try to play around the Hextech ultimatum rather than the cleanse, and trusting on the Tom Kench. Now Tom Kench is in his pocket, so for now it's not going to be something to put their magnifying glass on.
It's definitely interesting though, because the Caitlyn will have to play a bit safer. No QSS just yet this early on in the game, and Tom Kench can only devour one person, whereas Ian has the opportunity to get that cleanse, decides against it.
ADD has the random sampler going in his inventory, got a bit of everything. Makes him very, very tanky already, especially with his innate health gain. Baron control, something that KSV has been able to do, but of course cannot control both sides of the map unless you're very, very far ahead. Oh, he got the steal.
Oh, he got it.
That's a nice moment there. Very nice from Ruler. Okay. There's a feel-good moment. Someone's fist bumping in the crowd, or also just a bit of a fist bump in the booth also was looking to take down ADD, he was recalling late.
I don't think they had vision there even because of a control ward, but just good game sense out of Ruler. It's going to net them a cheeky Ocean Drake.
Next one will be another Cloud. So the Drakes are definitely not as high priority in this game. Had all the mountains in game one. KSV with the gank brush. No reason for the Tom Kench to walk up, and beyond there for the Predator lane gank. Who's ganking who is the question when you see the zoom out.
Ruler just the bait mid lane. If you can jump on him, certainly that'd be a nice grab. No QSS just yet.
Let's return to the win conditions of the draft, because of course we spent a lot of time just having a bit of fun with the amusing way the game has started. The game seems to have stalled out a little bit. MVP very strong in the turret, take very strong siege. And this is Baron from the behind the pit. Ian actually doesn't know about this. They put down defensive ward. This is super smart from KSV. They got it.
They have no idea. Now KJ comes in, helps out with the tank. Even Crown can get in there. ADD cannot get in, and that wall is just going to potentially lead to Ian doing a bit of damage here in the front line. He's got some help now. Crown in a bit of trouble, but that's Angelaniel coming out here. Looks like Crown is going to get out eventually, but the taste is on. 1 kill goes in here. Ian looking for more. Looks like it should just be 2 on the back end for that Baron.
The 2 deaths, and QV will pick up the bot lane out. It's a massive win for the side of KSV. We've seen that Baron a couple of times this season. Over the wall from Crown at the start, into stashing in. Very smart, very good moment. That was the practice KSV we were seeing in the early weeks of the season. And now they have QV with a Baron buff to raise more questions of ADD in the split push. Haru gives up most of his life bar at the start, and there's no information at all for the side of MVP. Ian eventually intuits it, but by the time he even gap closes, he doesn't even get into the pit before the smite is complete. There's not a lot of gold on the side of KSV, so there was kills on the back end, but no ability to chase them down. A very long delay on killing Crown, because Ian, like we mentioned, went heal instead of the cleanse, so we're CC'd up. Just 2 members go down. Only one of them really influential in the 1-3-1. Juve especially having 2 items and the ability to push with Baron is the big win for the side of MVP. They can't quite play 3 lanes here, KSV, after losing 2 Barons.
Yeah, so MVP ahead for now, but certainly turrets will be falling on the side for KSV, as MVP will just try to stop the bleeding. Pilot at least was able to pick up a kill, as well as Ian, so they're adding some more kills, some more gold to their carries at the very least.
And also KSV have great team fight with this comp. MVP's is not abysmal, but I would rate KSV's above it. They have great team fight. They have a 4-1, which with Baron buff is even more than Cyan can really deal with. Can only choose to delay in the bot side. And also the gold lead is largely gone. It's only 200 gold. So the amount they've stabilized the momentum of this game, which seemed like it was spiraling out of control very early, is to complement KSV. But this is the position in the game where usually, in the first 2 weeks of the season, you said, yep, they're going to make the controlled, slow close of the game. It's why 8.3 and even 8.1 through 8.3 was such a clean patch cycle on paper for the side of KSV, because previously their ordered play is what we complimented. It's been a while since they had this much of a lead in a game, and even then it's not there in terms of gold. But this is where KSV traditionally was strongest.
So let's see if they can channel this into a lead in this game. Looking for a potential gank up in the top lane, but Beyond and Max were there.
AD was looking for some playmaking, but was interrupted by QV as a level lead and still the Baron.
Brought up an Abyssal Mask next. Not really going to help too much against QV, but in the team fight certainly will. Beyond looking for a play here, but actually Haru coming in as well as the TP. He's going to grab that, but look at the damage coming out of Ian. Going to force Crown to get out of there, and now Pilot's going to join up, doing a bit of poke damage. KSV getting deep in there, and it doesn't really work out for them.
Not able to get Crown's flash, and no kills go down. So unfortunately, the flash investment from the side of MVP may not have been worth it. Good to see the intent. There is no QSS going to come through from Azir this game until later. Focusing on the damage, knows he needs to be the big damage threat after the Ezreal was so well held in the laning phase. Getting to Crown in team fights will be very, very difficult for MVP. They do not have backline threat. You're not going to see someone, Sion, drift around and get to the backline. They need to kill the front line, and KSV can peel back, hypermobility on the Ezreal. Azir, strongest when you're coming to him. It seems like KSV has the tonic to close this game. But the appearances for KSV have meant so little that you're not willing to say it out loud until you see it.
Certainly, MVP have an opportunity to outplay KSV on the map with all their globals they got going on. We've already seen some nice plays out of Max on the top catch. No huge Weaver's Wall plays outside of that one in the bottom lane where they picked up the couple of kills down there.
Do notice that when you look at the team comp here for disengaging the Hextech Ultimatum, There aren't a lot of options available for the side of MVP. The Tahm Kench, the best opportunity to do something, but actually knocking the Camille out of the Hextech Ultimatum, very, very difficult. They do not have a Keeper's Verdict. The only person who has a movement ability that would relate is the Seismic Shove, and that's already pretty situational. So Hextech Ultimatum, and now the farm, which was not there early. We were laughing about the farm numbers with all the action topside. 260 CS, so about 10 a minute for Cuve, and he has been able to farm among all the disarray to a pretty decent CS spot. Cloud Drake a freebie, and all we can get on the top side is Rift Scuttle control for the side of MVP.
Yeah, perhaps Cuve just getting angry after the way this game started. Was a very eventful beginning of the game, and we've had a couple of fights, but after that things have calmed down, and Cuve slowly building up the items on this scary Camille. We can see what he can do on this pick. It was banned in game number 1 in the second ban phase to take that away from Cuve, but this time he got his hands on it.
And your exact phrasing of the early game was a bit crazy, and then from there nothing had happened, and KSV inched their way back into the game, is the Samsung Galaxy story. They were never strong in the early game, but they were very good at cementing their spot in the game, and one creative moment has got them the ability to have some breathing room that was not there in the breathless game 1. But does that mean anything in 2018? Does that mean anything when the name reads KSV? We're still not sure.
Look at the play there. CoreJJ Ruler, the combination with that Unbreakable gets so much damage onto Max. At the end of it all, a couple of ults burn to try to get him, but he does survive. But that's the flash and the heal. Flash on Max, heal on Pilot taken away.
Chose to play decisive because Ian was in the top lane pushing minions and Weaver's Wall. Wasn't going to split them up. So now the Spire control goes the way. KSV around the Baron. Second Baron will not be a freebie for KSV. They were very inventive in picking up the first one. Item-wise, timing starting to get there. Ruler definitely behind the clock. 3 items, but not an item lead against a Caitlyn, which we see from almost every Ezreal. Do they have the damage to get one? They need to start off a fight with a pick to MVP to allow them to actually push through the game. See who the Skarner ult will be used on. Camille is not an option.
Yeah. You can see Cuve getting aggressive down there. Some pings going on as perhaps just wants to make sure that ADD can't get that good teleport on in here.
He's 2 levels up as well, so with the Ravenous Hydra, it gives him a lot of sustain off a minion wave. He's not really going to be taking damage from Sion any longer in the game. Well, JJ backing. He's already used all his ward charges on his Eye of the Watcher.
And KSV just trying to group up and actually is going to not go back. They're looking for a pick now, perhaps beyond in the front, but they got back far enough, not going to engage on in there.
Tahm Kench, probably the most straightforward pick target. They love to take him down with his flash on cooldown. Beyond's flash about 10 seconds away from being there again. Used it to try to get Crown earlier. Risky to face check into the mid lane, but with Camille showing bot side, they feel strong enough to start pushing up here, MVP.
You can tell that ADD is certainly having some trouble in this lane. Bit by bit, that tier 2 turret looks like it should go down sometime soon within the next waves.
This battle for the Rift Scuttle is actually a really big one, but KSV don't actually find a formation to take it, so Scuttle control there to MVP. Haru just throws out an ult. It hits the Skarner. It's a bit lazy, though, and they'll just back away.
Okay, that's a nice ultimate taken away from KSV. Be a bit of a communication issue as Beyond's now looking for his chance to use his ultimate. Not going to go for it just yet.
All the targets here do not have a QSS, so a lot of ability to look for a pick, but this is the reason KSV are not rushed. Inevitability, eventually, of taking this bot lane in a turret. And Beyond pop the Predator, but Caitlyn's already back to the mid lane, so the threat not there for the side of KSV.
Very tense in this game right now. KSV only about 700 gold ahead in this one. They're going to start it, but the wall comes in saying, nuh-uh, you're not going to do it just yet.
Now the tool down, though. He's not going to be able to have the same side lane presence. He'll need to be grouped with his team from now on, and they're already losing the bot lane side lanes pretty significantly. Sun turret goes down. MVP pushes up mid lane. Rinse and repeat. The KSV game plan that we haven't seen for a long while is back. They noticed some recalls. So what did MVP make of this? Only one ward, just the zombie ward. They're gonna start it.
They're doing it. Okay, here we go.
T-Boy's coming.
They're gonna commit to a TP.
Deep
they
TP from Camille.
Go for it. This is
it's an MVP Baron.
MVP. They're gonna flip the dice here. Let's see what they can do. It's gonna get pretty low. Can they actually stop the DPS? They're gonna try to turn here, but Pilot in the back, he gets taken out by Cube, and the huge Emperor's Divide. See you later. Everybody on MVP is gonna go down. A very unfortunate engage for MVP, trying to force that Baron. KSV punish them hard.
They peel off the Baron for the first time, and who can remember? And it costs them even further. Camille doesn't even need to use the Hextech ultimatum in the fight. One precision protocol, and goodbye Caitlyn, goodbye MVP. And that should be enough for KSV to get the death knell on the comp of MVP and eventually close out the game.
Just like that, a huge swing. You don't see an ace like that every day here in competitive play, but we've criticized MVP for those kinds of Baron takes before. They get restless. They're like, okay, one person recalled, let's go for it. Doesn't work out, and they get punished.
One smart Baron from KSV took an early game that was abhorrent from them and turned it into a winning one. We're going to see the replay. They outdone the Baron. They keep DPSing it down. And we know from watching MVP, this is how they like to play. Notice the problem for Pilot, though. He thinks he's fine. He gets a couple of pokes onto Cuvée as the fight goes on. He takes the first knock up, a little bit of burst. That was a rule of Q, I believe, and Cuvée just deletes him. Huge Emperor's Divide from Crown. Great team fight from them. We mentioned how hard it would be to get to Crown at the end. They couldn't. They're taking down where they stand, and now an almost 10,000 gold lead for KSV.
Just like that. Only 2 minutes separating before the fight and after the fight. There's going to be another Ocean Drake here for KSV, as now Cuvée can get some more items and make that pushing lane even more difficult for ADD, and they're just going to send the rest of them up to the top lane to push in this tier 2.
We were already saying that team comp-wise in an even game, we liked KSV. Now for MVP, I don't see how they kill a frontliner to actually overcome the team fight advantages that KSV have, so it does feel like we'll have to wait for KSV to close out this game, and barring a huge out by a huge mistake, it's hard to see KSV going down as with Baron buff. Walk up, this is a protocol. Off the turret health gone, and nothing interactive ADD can do about the situation he finds himself in.
I'm just gonna sit there and take it. See what they can do. Perhaps Ian can delay a little bit with the Weaver's Wall, or some crits come out of Pilot. It's really gonna be, let's try to turtle and get Pilot up to 6 items and have him be his own fountain laser. They're gonna engage here on the Cuvée though, who's gonna have 3 stacks and be devoured, so bit of a mistake there, but he might just get out as he hook shots over the wall. Ian, though, wants to say no, and will do just that. So they finally get the pick onto the Camille.
He eventually dies. He gets the inhibitor turret, but not the inhibitor itself. And Valdez, I think we'll go into a Baron number 3 with a play like that. Seems hard to think that KSV could close the game without the 3rd Baron. Still patch 8.3, so not quite the super-powered Baron. The stall is on to some degree by MVP. The Talia not quite a 0 when it comes to late game clearing, but decent. And they have 2 abilities to disengage cannon minions, amusingly, with the Seismic Shove and the Roar of the Slayer. No Banner of Command going to be in this game as Scion drifts away.
ADD not messing around, even with a bunch of the tanky items he has. Just saying, nope, see you later, goodbye. Didn't know who else was there. So 35 minutes in, KSV with still a really nice gold lead here, but Baron buff about to expire, and we know KSV. They're not going to be taking any risks. They're not going to be diving into the base. They'll just go back to square one and wait for that Baron to spawn.
Their comp is strongest when Cuvée gets teleport flank, ults in the right position, they can pile on from there, or peeling back. So both of those impossible to do when you're in the enemy base. So fortunately that means that the Spider sense tingles that a 3rd Baron is going to be required for KSV to end the game. Now, MVP might hesitate, might accelerate their own demise. There is also the outside chance they're able to pick up a big pick. Speaking of big picks,
they're going in. They're
taking
looking
the closest
for
target.
Haru, actually. They do have a decent amount of damage here, but the knockup now onto Beyond as they have to disengage, as both teams seem scared of each other. They're not going to engage on that one, and everybody backs away.
Nice little try there. They want to get at least a teleport from Juve to make that actually worth it, MVP. No summoners invested on their side, though. Haru having his flash down. The only real takeaway is Warmogs, means he's back to full health. So ult cooldowns to respect here. Impale down for about another 30 seconds. Means that KSV can walk up, and they want this inhibitor. The Azir turret, they could have gone for a more offensive one. Just go for the one behind them, stop the flank.
Ian looking for that Weaver's Wall. They look to engage here.
Okay, they're stuck.
From Pilot. Okay, they're going to keep them in there, but they're not actually going to engage. Looking for that seismic shove, but everybody has a dash on the side of KSV.
Even Juve can get over the wall, but it did halt them for a little bit. It's just enough time to buy the Skarner ultimate cooldown, because if they can do that, if it's Weaver's Wall, to get Impale back, that's a good news story for MVP.
Yeah, looks like the answer is yes, as Beyond is about to get that back up. So they buy themselves some time. Never underestimate a Caitlyn on 6 items. We've seen what Fountain Lasers can do on this patch. The question is, can Pilot pull it off the way that Teddy can really do it in some of his plays?
Pilot has been rewriting his reputation, at least for me, whenever he was in the LCK. Was known for being overly defensive in his positioning. You think of Maha's problem, where he's too offensive, is he almost take down QV through the QSS.
And Beyond burns his flash, looking for that Impale. He was close. You know, it looks kind of weird after seeing it. It looks silly, but definitely was a close call there for QV.
Flash plays onto QV, difficult to pull off. He did flash after the QSS had been used, but QV so hard to catch with his hook shot, so we back away. But the game is still tense. 40 minutes in, it's tense. We feel like we can see the future and see a KSV win because of the comp and also where the game is at for MVP. But stranger things have certainly happened in the LCK. It's been weird and wonderful in what is potentially the last game of our 60th match, 60th best of 3.
We're getting close to the action here, guys, because Baron 30 seconds away, Elder 45 seconds away. The teams are bound to fight over those objectives.
Notice that Azir has bought a very late stopwatch. Wants to pick up the ability for just shutting down any attempted engage. No QSS in that slot. Happy to go high damage in the stopwatch. Amusingly, in game 1, CoreJJ bought the stopwatch when he was in the fountain to turn around a fountain dive. That was that was pretty creative by him, actually.
Didn't want to give up the penta. In the end, he did. Fortunate.
MVP pushing up through mid. Remember that Camille has excellent flanking, but they don't have to respect that as she's in the face of the Scion for now. Turning onto the Tom Kench.
The grab here actually onto ground, but there's that stopwatch you were talking about. No doubt a trap is going to come in, but it actually doesn't get out to him. And Crown has done a disengage here. Now the front line of MVP is being chopped down. That's going to be the Tom Kench taken away. Meanwhile, we got ADD losing a fight against Camille, who's coming up, looking for Pilot, and that's going to be the grab. They are going to get that carry, and it should be the game here now for KSV as they get onto Caitlyn. They're looking for the end.
Baron positioning wall was enough as QV cleans up another.
Yep, see you later. Gonna take out that last carry and move in with this bottom wave. KSV saying we will not go down without a fight. They sub in Haru, look a bit better, just sticking with it after that rough early game in game number 1, and they are going to tie it up here. We're going to game 3.
This game represents so much for KSV. CoreJJ staring intently at the screen. They know that if they lose here, their playoff hopes, which are still very decent, get more remote with a loss. They would move to 6-6, a 50% win rate after starting the season so fruitfully. I mean, they were 4-1 before any of this started happening. So KSV do hold strong. Big credit to the creative Baron call. I imagine that was a combination of Haru and Crown. But after an early game, they would want to forget. Baron spawns, they get the first Baron, and the good news rolls for KSV.
You can see that right after that game ended, there were smiles on nobody's faces, but eventually it pans over to QV. He's got like this tiniest little smirk, and then it goes back to Haru. It seems like spirits have been lifted just a bit, but they know that it's not over, especially after the loss they took in game number 1. They're saying, hey, we can lose to these guys. We got to take them very seriously in every single game.
So far the series has gone red side. That means that ADD could get creative again with a last pick. Who knows?
Definitely can happen. We're going to see you guys in just a bit for game number 3.